Yo soy Leticia de Mejias. I am an author, an entrepreneur, a building scientist, and a firewalker, to name a few things that I do. But above all else, I'm a mother. And I love my family more than air. In fact, I would do anything to protect and defend my family's right to a decent future here on planet Earth. I believe we all have something we love, something we would fight for. And in 2008, I was living my life, doing all the things that people do, working a job at the hospital and taking care of my children. And to be honest, I never once thought about where my energy came from. I never thought about the systems and resources that are required to create the energy and electricity that power my life, my home, the community, our country, and the world. Because back then, I didn't know about the things that were plaguing us. I had never seen an open mining pit like this, where we blow up mountains to access coal to create electricity. And I had never seen a fracking site like this, where we slam water into the ground, polluting our water systems, the land, and our people. And to be honest, back then, I had yet to make the personal connection to the idea that when I flick a light switch, cook a meal, turn up the heat, use my air conditioner, chase shiny new things, or look at screens, that there were unseen impacts on people I loved or people I had never even met. Back then, I was unconscious of a lot of things that I was doing. I really never thought about how I stopped on my way to work every day for a cup of coffee in a disposable cup, or what harm that might cause. And I never thought about the fact that I owned 30 pairs of shoes that I probably never even wore, or that I had a closet full of clothes and yet still desired the next shiny new thing. I really didn't think about the personal connections that any of our choices had on people or the planet. Because to be honest, back then, I didn't know about the largest problem that is plaguing all of humankind: climate change. And you may be wondering why I've taken to the stage to stand on a red dot and talk about climate change in a time as polarized as we're living in now. So I'll tell you, I'm a warrior for people on the planet. And I was raised in an untraditional way by a line of warriors. In fact, my father was a firewalking instructor. And he taught me this warrior way through lessons every day, where he challenged my fears by teaching me to overcome them. He did this by teaching me to walk on hot coals and showed me that whenever there was a difficult time or I came across something that made me afraid, that I could call upon this warrior that was buried deep inside of me to fight those problems. And those warrior lessons were living deep inside of me when I learned about climate change and the harms of our everyday choices. And I saw this film, Kilowatt Hours, by Jeffrey Berry. And I have to be honest, folks. This warrior way is important, and I'm here to share it with you. People contain powerful warriors. With great power comes greater responsibility. We must speak on the things that matter most. Excuses are bridges to nowhere and monuments to nothing. Where there's a will, there's a way, and warriors never give up. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So as warriors, we take action to create change. And together, all things are possible. So I saw this film, and I had this knowledge, and all of that information brought me on a journey, led me to this very moment and this very stage to talk to you. I have to say, when I learned about climate change, it wasn't the polar bears that moved me to act. No, I really wasn't concerned about those bears who were trying to find ice. What moved me to act was the sudden understanding that my people were in danger. My people, the human race, everywhere, all across the planet, were experiencing struggles and harms that were related to our energy choices, and in fact, all of our daily choices. And that knowledge woke me and moved me to act. I didn't know what to do. I worked a regular job, I had a family, and I was overwhelmed with all of life. But I also knew that as a warrior, now that I knew about these harms and impacts, I couldn't look away and do nothing. I had to do something. I knew I could try. So I poured myself into learning everything I could about climate change, its causes, and the impacts. 13 years later, unfortunately, things are still getting worse. Despite the fact that we've looked away, climate change is on the rise. Higher energy prices, heat waves, droughts, pollution, storms, ocean acidification, fires, all of these things are climate change in our plain view. And I realized that I myself had fallen victim to the same things that everyone around me had, staring at those screens, chasing shiny new things. And that's not to say that I don't like shiny new things, because I'm like everyone else. I like things. It's just to say that those things won't help us in a crisis, and that our collective existence as a tribe is more important than our individual desires for shiny new things. And right now, we're facing a crisis. 1 in 5 deaths are directly related to energy pollution. Energy pollution is causing harm every single day. Warriors protect and defend. We don't wait to be saved. We create the change that is needed. We alert others to danger. And warriors take action. So I found out I was stuck in a loop. This loop of binge viewing. And action in saving people requires binge doing. I also realized that during the pandemic, I had been stuck thinking that these boundaries of separation while together were real, and that the boundary we create on paper or the walls we build in reality would actually stop things. But nature doesn't adhere to our boundaries or our walls. In fact, the pandemic itself brought that reality to us as the air went from country to country, sharing disease and death. And I also realized that despite the fact that we've been looking at each other as different, and seeing not our connections, but our differences, that in fact we are all connected by air, water, and land all of the time. There are things that are more alike amongst us than different. And far too often we're focusing on those differences. So I'm here to ground us in our commonality and remind us of our interconnectedness to each other and the planet that sustains our very lives. This is Earth. We all live here on planet Earth. Despite the few of us who may have gone with NASA to the moon and those who may want to follow Elon Musk on a short trip to Mars, we're all Earth dwellers, air breathers, all of us, together, collectively. That means everything we do, every action, every choice that impacts us impacts the Earth where we live. In fact, we are dependent on the Earth for every single thing. The rug, the chair, the table, everything we've had, made, or desired comes from natural resources. We may have had the idea, but we had to harvest the natural resources from the planet and use energy to create the things we wanted or needed. And collectively, we humans have been very, very busy. We have been drilling and fracking and digging up natural resources to create the things we want. And while we've been doing it, we really haven't been paying attention, because we're also burning those fuels that we dig up from the ground, which release particulates into the air, harming all of us, the air breathers. And that wasn't enough for us. We really like things, and we like things faster and cheaper as well. So we created new things with stuff we took from the ground, like oil. We made plastic, and we use it for everything. In fact, we have used so much plastic now that there's more plastic in the ocean than plankton. And plankton absorbs carbon, whilst plastic simply releases poison into the water. And plankton supports life cycles, whilst plastic just kills things. We can continue blaming each other, which is something we've all gotten very good at doing. But this blame game and honesty falls short on solving problems. And as a warrior, we should seek to solve problems together. I'm from an island, the island of Puerto Rico. And the island I'm from has seen more than its fair share of storms. Those storms have left us powerless, unable to meet even our basic necessities, like food, water, safe shelter, the ability to take care of our children or our parents. And we may be an island, but we're not alone in this climate crisis. In fact, while we weren't looking, the climate crisis continued to get worse. Since I learned about the problem of climate change and the cause of carbon emissions, our emissions have increased by over 35%. So here's what I'm called to tell you. 97% of scientists agree on a few key facts. The world is still round, not flat. Climate change is real. And without collective action, individually and together, things are going to get worse. So I thought, what moved me to act? What woke the warrior within me? And I realized it was knowledge. So I'm here to share that knowledge with you, the things I've learned on my warrior journey. These are non-alternative facts. The last 10 warmest years have occurred since 2005. 2020 was just shy of tying 2016 for the warmest year on record. It's not something we should be proud of. Temperature changes are happening faster than anyone anticipated. Between 1900 and 1980, we set a new temperature record every 13 years, and as a mother, that terrified me. Until I learned that from 1981 to 2019, we set a new heat record every 3 years. And those extreme temperature changes, they're having major impacts all over the globe, on plants, on animals, but more importantly, on people that we love, on us, humankind. Extreme heat, reduced rain, drought, famine, pollution, disease, death, an unlivable planet. We are in a crisis now. Inside of you lives a warrior. Every single one of you, everyone watching now, anyone who will watch this anywhere, we all have a warrior within us that can join this climate battle to make the changes that we need to see. Climate change is solvable. Humans, all of us together, we are the cause of the pollution, and guess what else? We are the key to the solution, because it is us demanding the things, the energy, the resources, all of the things. It's us demanding them. So here's what I'm going to tell you. You may have been feeling disconnected, as if you were disempowered, as if what you did didn't matter, and therefore you may have looked away. But I promise you that sense of disconnection, disillusionment, that you can't handle one more thing, it's just your climate BS. It's that belief system that they sold us, that they told us. They wanted us to think we couldn't solve the problem together, that some other country should do it first, that we can't take action because they haven't taken action, that it's not possible, and so we should just give up. And we have continued to not take action because of it. But we can change at any point in time and call on the warrior within us. Always, anytime, each of us. We use more energy today than ever in the history of mankind. But we are not paying attention to our energy choices or what we're doing. So I call upon you now to think about your choices, to value yourself as a person, as a warrior for change. What we need to do is think and act like warriors every day in every way. Speak up, take action, defend what you love most. No excuses, just action. Use your powers for good. Take responsibility, reflect on what you're doing, and talk to others about what they're doing as well. Never give up. Every action, no matter how small it may seem, creates a ripple of change. That one film by Jeffrey Berry and BBC woke the warrior within me and led me to take all types of changes in my life. I became a building scientist. I went to Congress and gave testimony on climate change. I wrote books. I talked with children. I paid attention, turning off my screen, tuning into life, switching off my lights, unplugging things I wasn't using, not running all the screens at the same time. I did less viewing, more doing. 10% of that energy that we demand in America is the equivalent to what Italy uses in an entire year. As in drawing down 10% of our waste by shutting things off and paying attention, we could draw down 25% of our emissions in buildings and homes all across the nation. And that's big, but we can go further. I learned more on my journey. I learned that at home we can draw down 30 to 40%. In fact, we can apply this to any building, getting an energy assessment, replacing our lights, paying attention to how we use water, our heating, our cooling, our windows. All of these things are ways to draw down our demands. Also, we can share what we know and plant seeds as we go, because knowledge is power. And how can we make the change if we don't tell people what needs to change or what are the causes of climate change? So I wrote books for children and adults alike to help them understand where their energy is coming from, how they're using it, and what the impacts are. And also to empower them to join the fight, not as a victim, but as a warrior to defend the things they love most. But that wasn't enough for me, because I'm a warrior, and I knew I could do more, and so could each of us. So I started a business that helps people all across Connecticut and the nation draw down their energy demands, serving over 1,000 households a year, helping them reduce their emissions by over 30 to 40% at home, in their businesses, and their schools. This can happen anywhere that there's buildings with a B and people. We could do this all across the world, drawing down our demands together, making it easier and less expensive to connect to renewable resources, because then I went solar, started creating my own energy, making my own power, claiming my own life. We never give up. And I ask you to be the warrior that you've been intended to be. Don't look away. Remember the basic human need for survival. Pay attention to that right now. Everything you do matters. Everything you do. Start at home and work your way out, reducing emissions by 30 to 40%. These are simple things that we can all do, getting assessments, insulation, windows, new HVAC equipment, new water heaters. And we can switch off those screens and tune into life and love. We can waste not, want not, paying attention to what we buy, throw away, what we use, and what we don't need. We can use our time and talents wisely, because those are also resources. And we can share what we know. But most importantly, I ask you to stand with me now, to wake your inner warrior, to claim who you were meant to be, to share everything you know and make way as you go. Because I am one small person, but I know for sure, together all things are possible. Thank you.